to the Gen X Remix, Midlife, Laughs, and Next Acts. I'm your host, Tabatha Jones, and I have a question for you today. Do you ever feel like you're living the same day on repeat? Like that old movie Groundhog's Day? That feeling like you're just stuck in a routine that feels safe, but it's not truly fulfilling. If you've ever thought, is this really it? Then today's episode is for you. And spoiler alert, I'm going to be talking just a little bit about sex. You know, us Gen Xers, we don't really talk about sex too often, but there's going to be a little bit in today's episode, so you might want to plug some little ears. Before we dive in, let's just talk really quickly about your corporate escape. I always say don't quit your day job yet. It's one of the biggest mistakes I see women making when leaving corporate for entrepreneurship. And that's that they don't build before they go. And trust me, the money, the time, and the energy go so much faster than you expect. And that's why, as the corporate escape Sherpa, I teach women like you how to leverage their decades of corporate leadership experience to build a thriving business that you love before you leave that corporate job. So if this sounds like you, I've got 2 ways to help you get started. Both will be listed in the show notes for your convenience. But the first way I can help you is by sharing my free Corporate Escape Flipbook. It is at corporateescapesherpa.com, and you can use that book to start mapping out your escape plan. It'll really get you thinking. The second way I can help you get started is by offering you a 60-minute session. It is a corporate escape strategy session for just $197. In this session, we dive into your exit strategy, your business vision, and some of the steps you need to take in order to start making money before you leave your day job. And believe it or not, I'll probably even challenge you to circle your escape date. Spots are very limited for these sessions, so if you're serious about your escape, don't wait, grab your session now. Again, it's $197 for that 60 minutes, which is a $300 value. Now, on to the fun stuff. Into today's episode, I am really excited to welcome Saidi Bess. She is a sacred sexuality guide, an energy healer, and the founder of Sacred Sensual Alchemy. With over 18 years of experience, Saidi helps individuals reclaim their sensual energy, balance their sacred feminine and masculine, and break free from limiting belief systems. If you've ever felt disconnected from your true essence, struggled with self-worth, or wondered how to just tap into your deepest creative and sensual power, you don't want to miss this conversation. So let's get into it. All right, Saidi, thank you so much for joining us on the Gen X Remix today. As you may know, I start all of my shows off by asking our guests to tell me about your greatest remix story.
Yeah, that's funny. Hello, thank you so much for having me here. I'm excited to be here. Remix, I've been contemplating this all day, and I'm still kind of in the middle of this remix that started about 2.5 years ago, where it was kind of a conglomeration of things coming together where I had to change my life in a really drastic way. And there was some astrological events happening that were kind of forcing it upon me, right? It's like, ready or not, it's time to go. And I don't know, drastic change. I packed everything up, put it into storage, bought a little shuttle bus and headed out on the road and just scrapped my whole life and just to see what was going to happen. I've been following a spiritual path for a very long time and and guiding people, counseling people in trusting the universe, letting go of the old belief systems and the old ways of doing things that say you have to work a 9 to 5 job. You have to work really hard to retire and then go travel. You have to do all of these things to get to this, right? And I everything I've been learning is a not about that, right? So I was just like,
Mhm.
okay, universe, I keep talking about this and I know it's true, but I'm really gonna like let's dive in, right? Let's put my money where my mouth was, I guess, right? Because I had no plan. People like, where are you going? What's your first stop? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just going, right? How are you gonna do this? How are you gonna do that? How does this work? I don't know. I'm gonna figure it out though. I'll find out, right?
That
And
happens.
yeah, yeah, and so I did, and I left, and it it's unbelievable what my life has turned into since making that leap, and it was very scary, and I didn't know what was gonna happen, right? Of course we don't, but that's where the magic happens, and that's what I'm so passionate about supporting people in, and it sounds like you are too, just like, make that change that your heart is calling you to make, right? That your soul is like, right?
Oh my
So, yeah.
gosh. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So much in that. As Gen Xers, though, we also know we're taught stay in the same job, go for the stability, work hard till you retire, do all the
Mm.
right things. But we're doing sometimes somebody else's right things, and we're afraid to do the thing that feels right for us. So I'm curious about your experience with that when it was you were being questioned and people were kind of challenging your decision. What was it that helped you make the decision to go?
Yeah, I mean, part of it, again, there was this urge that I could not stop. And, I'm not going to dive into the astrology of it, but it was so intense. I just really couldn't make any other decision. I just knew. And once it started going, like it just had to be. And, I remember my aunt being scared, like, you're going to get killed out there on the road. And it's just like, you could run into danger anywhere, right? And it was just so it
Mhm.
was those kinds of things that were, yeah, really, like you say, like dealing with other people's fears and losing this stability, which um our generation, I think, is one of the ones that's really pushing back on that and moving out of it. We're kind of like in between, where previous generations were really locked in and that's what we got taught, but we're also like, but it feels like there's a different way. This seriously isn't working for us anymore. Where it did, I think, for them in some ways, I don't think it really did in the big happiness picture, but we're just like, okay, we're not going to settle for that anymore. So I would just really, again, I had my conviction and my beliefs and my understanding of the universe. I knew there could be more, and I was just slowly dying more and more and more inside every day, just staying. It's the same day. Every day is the same day, right? If you just stay in that one place, you do the same routine, you go to the same restaurants, you have the same, it's just like, is this my life really? If this is it, I know what it is, and it's gotten really boring. So
Right.
I was like,
Oh,
let's just see. And I was so into it at that point where I was able to, I mean, I can't undo other people's fears, but I was also hoping that they would see, it's like you can have your fear and I'm going to go anyway, right? And then maybe eventually you'll see that it's not so scary, right? Or you'll watch the process, right? So, yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. So many things. Again, like it's
Yeah,
my
yeah.
brain's just firing off. But
Right.
when I think about generations, I do feel like that's one of the things we've learned from millennials. They kind of follow their passion. They don't stay in a job for 20 years. They don't ever say, well, I have to do this every single day and I
Right.
can't think about anything else. And so I do see a lot of benefit in looking at the younger generation and learning from them in that space. But to your point, that feeling like you're just dying every day, it's like Groundhog's Day. Every single day, I'm going to get up at 5:30 a.m. I'm going to turn on the news. I'm going to take a shower. I'm going to get my coffee. I'm going to race out the door. I'm going to sit in traffic for an hour. It's every day. And then it just feels like I've been there, I guess is what I'm saying. Like, I feel like that call eventually is so powerful. The voice in your head is so powerful. The call of the universe or whichever, if you believe in God or spirit or whatever it is, like that call gets to be so powerful. There's not anything you can do except that thing. I mean, I
Right.
was like,
Yes.
God, if I got to get on one more plane to Philadelphia ever again, I will poke my eye out.
Yeah, right.
Like, if I go for vacation, I don't see that happening, but it could. It's a beautiful state.
Yeah.
But, well, Pennsylvania is city states. Here we go.
Yeah.
But it's just not, for work, like getting up and going and doing the thing. It's just, it gets to that point. You just feel like you're dying just a little bit every day when you go through the motions. So, I love it. And I love that you use magic a lot as in your terminology. I know it's part of your program. Tell
Yeah.
me more about the magic.
Well, that's really interesting because, I started incorporating magic along with my spiritual path, just learning more about how to work with energies, and that's what magic is. I mean, I know there's some funny understandings around that terminology or what it is, and but it's really working with energy and creating your own reality and getting very intentional, getting clear on what you want, and then putting that out into the universe. So I did this a lot with a lot of ritual. It was just became a morning practice for me. And working with the astrology again, what are the energies of the cosmos that are affecting us, and how do we harness those to create our reality? But it was kind of like, looking back, you never know. You're setting things into motion, but you don't know what they're going to look like, right? And hindsight, it's just like, oh, I guess I was calling in all of these things. I didn't know that they were going to culminate in like, okay, you're scrapping your life and moving on, and it's going to bust wide open for you. So, but again, just getting clear on it, it's really, how do you want to feel every day? Not what do you want to do every day. I knew world travel was very important to me. I know being of service is important to me. I know my spiritual path is important to me. But what do I want to feel like every day? And it was that freedom and joy and connection and just, yeah, freedom, I think, was the big one, creative and spontaneous. And once you get clear on that and you put that into what you're doing, into your ritual, and you let go, the universe just kind of comes in and says, okay. And you
Here we
trust,
go.
right? You trust.
Yeah.
Yeah, here we go. It was that. Here we go. And what are you willing to let go of that isn't serving you in order to get what truly is, what aligns with your heart and soul? Yeah, and that is facing fears, and I through that process of going out on the road, I mean, I did let go of a lot of things that were, stable and solid to me, and it wasn't like it all was just magic. Speaking of magic, when I left, right? I mean, I was in a relationship at the time, and that was just not going so great, and it was kind of like a make or break. This is either going to be the catalyst we need to really like blossom and grow, or it's going to annihilate us. And sure enough, it did. Annihilation. Within 4 months, he was gone. So now I'm out on the road by myself, driving a shuttle bus like that he always drove. I'm like, what in the heck just happened? Right. So I'm
Wow.
completely lost everything and just out there alone by myself, where I really then the journey began, right? Then it was all the inner. I really, yeah, I had to let go of so much, so much. So, okay, I'm off and running on that one.
No, that's so good. And that was probably the universe's way of just clearing and making space for you. Him leaving at the time, I'm sure didn't feel good, but it also feels like it really led you to that time of being able to do that deep inner work that needed to happen.
That's exactly what it was, because when I went out in the bus, it wasn't about going to stay at campgrounds and such. It was going, I wanted to get out of the norm, right? And um, so it's going out in the wilderness and just going and camping off road and being out there so completely alone, and it was, a reconnecting with nature, a reconnecting with my magic, or deepening that connection, and really connecting to the earth and that sacred feminine. And also at this time, I'd also been trying to grow a business that fell apart too when I was out there, and I was so into that, and that it was just like, okay, now that too, like what is going on? But but yeah, the inner journey that just it just yeah, it needed to be that way, I guess, you know?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it doesn't seem that way at the moment. It
Yeah,
seems like the worst thing ever. And then to months down the road, you're like, oh, well, that's why that happened. The
exactly.
one thing that I love about this conversation is that you did what you needed to. You took action, you listened to the voices, you didn't listen to other people's fear.
Yeah,
Something I hear a lot from Gen X women, and they say it in a variety of different ways, is, but do I really deserve that? Or should I be doing this? Or, well, I need to take care of everybody else, but they never will put themselves first, never really getting out there and saying, hell yeah, I deserve this and I should be doing this. Did
yeah.
you ever have moments where you questioned whether you deserved to go out on this journey?
Oh, absolutely. Who am I to just like let go of everything and go when everyone around me? I mean, okay, so a lot of people were fear based around it, but other people were just like, "Oh, I really wish I could do that." And everywhere I went, and people, I'd get into conversations with people, and we'd be talking about how I'm living my life. Oh, I wish I could do that. Oh, I wish I could do that. Oh, if only. Or one day, and it's just like, just go, right? Just do this. But so many people, all the excuses and the ways they hold themselves back. So yeah, of course I question, and there's a lot of parts of my life, like world travel. Since I went out in this bus, I've been out traveling abroad for many months, not in the bus, but out just my life of travel has opened up in such a way where I question, like, why do I get this when I didn't do all the things? I didn't do the, 9 to 5, 40 plus hours a week. That wasn't my path that everyone around me has taken. And everyone in my family is that's what you do. Right. And I've pushed back on those systems since forever. And I'm the black sheep of the family. And yet now I'm out here, the one traveling the world 6 months of the year when that's what they want to be doing. And they're just like,
Yeah.
I don't think it makes a lot of sense. Like, so yeah, I'm like, oh, why do I get to do this? But it's because I pushed back and broke free and continue to push back and continue to face my fears. And like, yeah, that's really scary. And I'm going to do it anyway. Right. Because I don't know. Luckily I have that drive to just to push back. It doesn't mean it's easy at all, right? It's not.
Yeah.
There's plenty of
No.
things. But for me, it is easier than sitting in the same thing every day. That will make me a crazy person. So
Yeah, I always say pick your hard. Everything is hard. Choose your
yeah.
hard. Do you want
Yeah.
your hard to be going out and building a business or living a life you love, or do you want your life to be waking up every day and dying at your desk that you're not happy with? And
Right.
there's no shame in sitting at that desk. I did it for 33 years. I loved
Right.
it. I loved my job until I didn't. But
Yeah.
there are a lot of people who will just keep doing the same thing again and again, and it just gets really, I don't know, it's just hard to see it sometimes. And what you just said is, yes, I was scared, and there's
Right.
so
Right.
many
Right.
others that will say, yes, I was afraid, but. And
Right.
so, but I stayed there another 5 years, but I decided not to try it. But yours was, I was scared and I got in my bus and I got on the road. Yep, I
Yeah.
was scared and I went and I traveled the world. And
Yeah.
it's really amazing, and I hope that our listeners are picking up on that, because it's really such a simple word, the and and the but it
Yeah.
does definitely drive you into more positive action.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I'm curious now about your business. So tell me, I went through your website a little bit. I was preparing. I saw a lot about sex magic, sacred sexuality, and as I was sharing before the show, it's sex. I'm not sure Gen Xers are ready for it, but I'd love to hear more about kind of what you do. Like what is your work in that space?
Wonderful. Yes. Well, I've been really passionate about sacred sexuality or sexuality my whole life. And I'm differentiating like sensuality, just expressing myself in that way, in a more sensual way. But yet having so many strange messages around it when I was younger and not knowing how to deal with my energy, ending up getting myself into weird experiences, not harmful necessarily, but just not doing the monogamy thing and just getting into weird, weird, uncomfortable situations where in our society, it's like if you have sex and you're supposed to get married and, do the family thing again, like these models we've been handed that just didn't work for me. But it took me a while to figure out, um, you know, to learn myself and to understand my energy and, understand more of the systems and to dive into all that. But I've just always been a sensual person and I've just over the years explored that different avenues for myself. I was a dancer, oh my gosh, stripper for some years, a couple of years doing that, then moved into escorting and connecting with people around that. And that was hugely liberating for me because then I was getting to do a lot of what I wanted to do without causing any harm to anybody, right? And it was actually a beneficial thing and really beautiful. And I got to really step into who I am. And yet there's all this stigma around that, right? In our society, it is not supported. So while I was stepping into who I am, and this is actually when I left the corporate world, I wasn't part of it for very long. But that 9 to 5 job, which was just a soul sucker for me, I just, and luckily it was a short period. But then moving into this, where all of a sudden I had all this freedom, I had all this time, I was doing something I really enjoyed, I was being very appreciated for what I had to offer, and it was just a celebration, and then everything just started opening up, and I started being able to afford and go to school in the way that I wanted to, and travel, and things were just, very, it was beautiful. Um, and just, yeah, really, but okay, that's where I was going with that. While it was very freeing, I also had to shut down a lot because it wasn't accepted in society and I couldn't talk about what I was doing. I kept it from my family for a very long time. Although when I finally did share it with them, they were just like, yeah, we knew that. They'd
Funny
had
how they
their
know things.
and they didn't care. They were just supportive. I'm like, really? I hid that for 12 years, Like, oh my gosh, that was creating my own hell there. But moving on through this and then getting onto my spiritual path and through all my schooling, just really understanding so much more about um uh, how shunned and shamed sexuality is and distorted and perverted, and how it's at the root of so many issues in relationships and so much self-esteem and insecurity and self-worth issues around this, and um, really wanting to support people to reconnect with a healthy expression of their sexuality and their sensual energy, however that shows up for them. Because even as I was going on this exploration, like, we're still told what's healthy. Here's what a healthy libido looks like. And so I bought into that for a while and I was like, yeah, and it doesn't look like that. So what's wrong with me? Right. And then I was just like, wait, that's what this one person tells me is a healthy libido, and maybe that is for one person. But so we don't even know what healthy sexuality looks like. So it's a very profound personal experience of diving in and reflecting and facing fears and traumas and belief systems and unpacking all of that, to get down to the core of who we are and what that looks like. And when I'm talking about sexual energy, that is our creative life force energy. It's how we're birthed into this world, right? It is creation. So sexual energy for me, it's not just about sexual encounters or with a partner. It's our life force energy. What flows through. It's our creativity. It's our passion. It's our purpose. And this shows up in all of our endeavors. It's our passion projects, right? That's our sexual energy flowing through. And when this energy is so tamped and shunned and shamed and distorted and blocked, we're disconnected from our creativity. We're disconnected from our passion. We're disconnected from ourselves and the truth of our experience. There's so many people are just like, I don't know what I'm passionate about. Exactly. Yes, there it is, right?
Yeah.
But we all have a light to shine bright. We all have a self to express, right? And I think this is one in, this is one way in to there's many ends, but it's mine. And I've seen a lot of people really blossom and open up when they get into this. And it's just one quick last note here. It's not about supporting people that be having sex all over the place. That's not what it is about. Again, it's a very personal expression. So
Sure.
um a differentiation of sex versus our sexual energy, our sensual energy, and life force energy is important there. So um as you can tell, I get very excited about this. You can just go off.
I know, I'm not even interrupting. I could just listen all
Okay,
day. I mean,
okay.
it's intriguing. And
Yeah.
I think that also, earlier when you mentioned that you had been a dancer slash stripper and had been an escort. I mean, there's so many stereotypes around people in those industries. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, if I could have a body like a dancer like that, I would probably do that myself, but only but also I'm shy naked. So maybe not.
Me too. I'm very shy naked. Like, yeah, like, what am I doing up here? But I couldn't help it. I had to have that experience, right?
Well,
Yeah.
it's kind of cool, right? You just did it. It's
Yeah.
okay, I'm shy and I'm going to go try this new thing.
Yeah.
But I just think there's so many stereotypes, and probably most of those come from people who have been very repressed or who have been told, oh, that's not how you're supposed to be, or tuck those things in, or whatever it is that we've heard growing up. And
Yeah.
it's all over the media, right? How women should be acting and what we should be doing. And I'm like, oh, Lordy, stop. Just stop telling us so
And
much
and
and
men
let us
too.
be
Men
ourselves.
too. You
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
really
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that you talk about is really harmonizing and balancing your feminine and masculine energies. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, for me, this path of sacred sexuality is just so much about the imbalance growing up in a patriarchal society. And not to shun or shame the masculine energy, it's beautiful, and we're each made up of this feminine and masculine energy and qualities, but it's gotten very imbalanced in a society that just so celebrates and honors and promotes the masculine qualities, right? It's very mind based. It's very achievement, goal oriented, do, right? And we've lost touch with the feminine aspects of ourselves, which are, a healthy emotional experience, our intuition, our psychic gifts and abilities, and being connected to the body, being connected to the earth and nature. And this disconnection or this imbalance, this I don't think that's a word. I was just going to say, I'm like, I don't think that's a word. Imbalance. The imbalance has really caused a lot of suffering to us. And it's really thrown off how we relate to each other, how we relate to the opposite sex, or other genders. Oh, I'm not sure what the politically correct gender terminology.
Yeah.
um, so and it shows up a lot in the workplace, right? Like, it's just so hyper masculine, and women have lost touch with their own feminine trying to fit into this society. Men have lost touch with their feminine, so it's really about bringing those back into, I won't say balance, because it's never going to be like an equal, even, that, but a harmony, like, but strengthening the feminine energies in ourselves, bringing down the masculine a bit, so we're not so in our minds, so about doing, more about being and stillness. But the feminine energy is also extremely creative, right? It's a creative energy, which is again that sexual energy. When we're really tapped into it and allowing that to flow, we're just so much more expressive and creative and in our truth. But yeah, really coming down into the body, sacred sexuality for me is so much about that. We've gotten very disconnected from the body. We're very in our minds, very goal oriented in sexuality, right? Just looking to get to the end, and we're not, present with ourselves, present with a partner, present with real. And again, for me, sacred sexuality all begins within. It's being present with ourselves. It's that balance and harmony within because our external world isn't a reflection of our inner world. When we're off balance and out of harmony within, it's showing up all around us. All of our relationships are, we can see it, right? And in again, the imbalance in a career or in a job, if we're so hyper focused on that, with losing touch with all of the other parts of ourselves, that's where the discontent comes in, right? If we have the balance, then we can engage with all of it in a much healthier, a whole way, right? It's a more whole way of experiencing our lives and our humanity and our everything, right? So that's really the essence of it for me, returning back to strengthening the feminine within ourselves. And this is what it started when I was really supporting men to come back into their feminine,
Mm.
reconnect to their emotions, reconnect to their intuition, reconnect to their heart, reconnect to their bodies, right? And I felt like, who better than a feminine to help support you in that process? So, but also so many women are disconnected as well, right? So there, the balance. Yeah,
Wow.
so important.
Yeah. That's really helpful. I just kind of think through kind of like areas of my life where this has shown up. And, you're right. In the boardroom, you can bring in your feminine energy. I firmly believe that it adds value. But there are definitely times where you've got to, as a female, amplify that masculine energy to get things done and get people on board and moving quickly toward the goal, which
Yeah.
then translates outside of the boardroom because your brain is still on that go. I got to get this goal. I got to hit this thing. Um, it's kind of a joke, but probably not as funny at my house, that if my eyes have been open 15 minutes, you've missed the window because I already got all my goals set for the day. Like, I am
Oh my
not
God. Right.
going to be
Yeah.
sitting down having a conversation. Like, I've already moved on. Like, my list is going. And so I see a lot of what you're saying. I can kind of see where it draws those parallels in my own life and my own behaviors. So when people come to see you and they say, Sadie, I need help, what's generally going on? I'm sure everyone's different, but what are some general themes that you're seeing?
I think what we were just talking about, that's really a huge one. Just a real, just a disconnect from okay, there's a lot of people pleasing going on from both sides, right?
So
Everyone is
much.
just so about how just just so insecure. There's a lack of self-love. There's feelings of unworthiness. There's if I make somebody else happy, then I'll be happy, but that never works, right? There's resentment and bitterness because we get into that trap of thinking, if we just do for another, then everything's going to be okay. And then we still don't get our needs met. And then we start getting angry and bitter and frustrated and more shut down. And um, that's a big one. Everybody is really giving themselves away to something else, someone else. They're externalizing for validation. When this happens, or um, when I get this relationship, when I get this career, this job, or when, this, that, or the other, when I have this much money, when blah, 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 then I'll feel okay. Then everything will be all right. And we've been taught that in our society, right? All of these goals. And that's why everyone's so goal oriented. It's always something else, right? When I get this done, when I get,
The next
and
thing,
it never
exactly.
ends. It never ends. There's always going to be more to achieve. There's always going to be more to get. There's always, and it's just, and that's pretty much what most of us are dealing with, right? It's just the society we've grown up in. So it's really a coming back inside, and returning to ourselves and finding our own divinity and sovereignty and what our truth is, and being authentic to ourselves. And again, like, so many people just don't even know who they are, what's important to them, what is their truth, what are my values. I was leading a men's group not long ago, and it just came up, like, so what do you value?
Mm.
Nobody could answer the question, really. They were just like, I'm like, well, then how can you
Such a
live in
simple question, right?
it?
But
Really is.
yeah.
But when you don't, and so that's just, it's things like that, when you start looking at it and start sitting with yourself and reflecting and diving into that, like, And then if you have values, then you have a structure to live your life. And then you can start getting into integrity with that. And if you don't have any values, you don't have any understanding of what truly matters to you. What are your boundaries? What are your yeses? What are your absolutes? What what really turns you on? What lights you up? What's your passion? Is it world travel? That's mine. Are you living in alignment with that? No. Well, then what do you do to start moving towards that, right? It doesn't mean you just like flip a switch and it all happens. But if you don't know and you don't get clear with yourself, then surely you can't, if you don't plug a location into the GPS, it's not going to get you there, right? So you got to
Exactly.
know what do you want? How do we get there, right? Like, but what's important to you? So yeah, that's a big key. People just don't know who they are and what's important to them, because they've been living their life based on the system, based on the models that have been handed to them, based on what they've told they're supposed to want. Then they get those things and find out, well, that didn't really work. Now what?
Not quite it. Oh
So
my
it's kind of
gosh.
like going it's
Yeah.
like going back to the drawing board, things that we weren't supported in previously. Now we get to that point like, oh, okay, well, yeah, let's figure that out. What do I truly want? Right. So yeah.
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 So interesting. And I just reflect back again on so many conversations I've had. And I'll go back in my zone, which is really women leaving corporate. And sometimes they leave unexpectedly. I've got friends that were recently packaged out due to a
Yeah.
reorg, layoff, however you
Right.
want to however you want to say it. But when I meet with them and I say, well, what do you like to do? It's really hard to answer. So, you take a woman in her early 50s, the kids are either raised or out of the house. We're all in various spaces, but that was a big piece of our identity being a mom. Maybe you've
Right.
been married for a while. You've been a wife, you've been in corporate, you've been an employee, a leader, a whatever for a long time. And when you step out, it's like, what do I like to do? I don't even know anymore. I
Yeah.
just, and so I can absolutely see just so many ways that this is important and being aligned and understanding your values. I mean, for me, my values have never been unclear, but there definitely was a time where I was like, I don't even know my purpose anymore. I don't know what I'm
Right.
doing. Now I'm
Yeah.
good. I'm on track again. But, we get off track sometimes. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what the sexual energy is about too. Like so many people don't even know what they like or what their thing is, right? So it's an
yeah,
exploration of that too. But yeah, it's just kind of all across the board there. Yeah, we've lost touch. Yeah.
absolutely. Oh my gosh. Well, I feel like we could talk about this all day, but I know we're coming up on time. So,
Yeah.
if you were to share any parting words or advice with our listeners, what would you say?
Oh, I think just based on the conversation we were just having, like, get out your journal and take some time to reflect. What is it that you truly want? What turns you on? What are your desires? What are your passions? What do you want to experience in this life before it's over? Oh my gosh, right? So but take the time to explore that. What are your values? And then you can look this up. You can look online, like a list of, because some people like values. Oh my gosh, what does that even mean? Right. But look that up and see what, like, there's lists of values. And then, so that can help you with this process. And then are you in alignment with those values? And if not, how do you move forward, into that? And if you need support around that, feel free to seek that out, but at least it's a starting point for you, um, to start getting into alignment and seeing where things are really not in alignment, right? That's another one. So it's a real process of releasing and clearing, letting go of what isn't serving us. So um but yeah, until we get clear, it's really hard to even know where to start. So that's a great place to start. Just reflect and take some time. Don't force it, journal over a week, 2 weeks, a month. Get into it, right? Who are you? What turns you on? What lights you up? And if you don't know, that's a place to explore too, right?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Oh my
yeah.
gosh. And I know one of the things you said too was like the things that are you absolutely don't want. I don't remember exactly how you said it, but
Yeah.
write that down too. If you're stuck on what you do want,
Right.
Write down the things you know you don't want, because that will also start with that picture. But yeah, I'm a fan of journaling. I just sometimes fall a little off the wagon, but it
Oh,
will
me
help get that clarity, right?
for sure. Yeah,
Oh
it's
my gosh.
amazing.
So, Sadie, if our guests want to connect with you, what is the best way for them to do that?
Sacredsensualalchemy.com. And I have a YouTube channel as well, Sacred Sensual Alchemy, and Instagram, Sacred Sensual Alchemy. So yeah, it's all pretty easy.
It's like Beetlejuice 3 times.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it.
Exactly. Yeah.
We'll definitely include that in the show notes so that our guests can connect with you. And this has been a really great conversation. Definitely have had my mind open up to some things, and I'm sure that our listeners have as well. So thank you so much for your time today, Sadie.
Thank you so much. And I did want to say just one last thing. I just started offering some community events that are very approachable and very easy to, to just step in if you're curious about learning more about sacred sexuality. So check out my website for that. So I'm just super excited, and I've been having really good experiences with that. So yeah.
Amazing. All right. Well, you may see me in there. I might just check you out a little bit more. Thank you so much.
Thank you too.
Wow, what an incredible conversation with Saidi Bess. I could have carried on that conversation all day long, but I know y'all can't listen all day long. Sadi's insights on reclaiming sensual energy, balancing that feminine and masculine force, and really stepping into authentic empowerment were so eye-opening. If today's episode resonated with you, be sure to connect with Saidi at sacredsensualalchemy.com and check out her YouTube, Instagram, and transformative power programs at sacredsensualalchemy.com. Oh my gosh, I cannot say those words together, but so amazing. I've been out to her website. It's a beautiful site. And as I shared, you can follow her on YouTube, Instagram, and definitely take a look at what's happening in her world. Now, if you are ready to start planning your corporate escape, don't forget to grab my free corporate escape flipbook at corporateescapesherpa.com. And if you would like, let's go ahead and get to booking. Book a corporate escape strategy session while spots are open for just $197. As I shared, I just open a handful of those at a time. So if this is something that is calling you, you better grab it quick. For those of you who are looking for deeper support, I offer 3 ways to work with me. So whether you prefer one-on-one coaching, a structured group program, or an ongoing membership for support and accountability, let's chat and see which one's right for you. All of my connection information is in the show notes. And until next time, keep taking bold steps toward the career and life you truly want and deserve. Take care.